Hello, everybody. We're back once again. My name is Vuvu Kokweni Kenyekazi. If you're here for the very first time, we want to welcome you. We're very excited to have you here. If you haven't subscribed, could you please subscribe and like the video? And if at any point you feel like adding any comments, I really love engaging with people. So you can leave your comments and I'll answer to each and every comment I see. And if you're a returning subscriber, I really value you guys for returning, and may we continue listening to the videos and continue liking, continue sharing the videos. I really would appreciate that. Okay. Today, we are going to talk about the value of coaching. If you remember from my last video where I was talking about how I moved from being a couch potato to actually running ultra marathons, I got to a point where I was just not happy with mediocre results. Yes, I had run 3 comrades, which is 90 kilometers. I had run 4 Oceans Ultras, which is your 56 kilometers, and all of them were finished on record time. But for someone who had been putting in a lot of time for my training, that's what I thought. I thought I was, giving it my all. I just couldn't understand why my times were not improving. I was still in the back end of the races and I was just not happy. As a result, I decided after Comrades 2015, I am going to go seek a coach. Okay, because I needed to understand what it is that I was doing wrong. Because in my view, I was investing everything that was needed, but I had reached a plateau in terms of my fitness and in terms of my weight loss. Remember, my focus was always weight loss, and I figured that running long distances was going to help me drop those kilograms. But instead, the opposite was happening. I was just gaining, losing, but I was really sitting in the same position. So July 2015, I got myself a coach, and one of the things I wanted from a coach, I didn't want a virtual coach. I needed someone I'm going to interact with. Okay, so that meant that it has to be a coach in Port Elizabeth. I mean, there are virtual coaches, so I mean, it's really a person's preference, but I felt I needed a coach that I can be able to see, not necessarily every day, but I will be able to interact. And if we need to meet for any type of training, then I'm able to see them. So in that way, I got hold of a guy called Richard Laurie, who is running now a professional coaching company called Matrix Multisport. All right. And so July 2015 was my start of professional coaching. All right. Remember, I am this girl who has run already 3 comrades, so I thought at least there is something I know. All right, that was the first thing. And when I told my running peers that I'm looking for a coach, a lot of people actually laughed at me, right? And I think it's because they were like, I'm very mediocre, I'm very average. And I remember one of my friends actually said, who's going to want to coach you? And I guess it's because people are not in the know that, yes, every level of running or whatever sport you're in, whether you're a beginner, whether you're a pro, has a coach. Other people are still starting out as professional coaches, so they need people to build up. Other people really are dealing with pros. So one of the lessons is that if you have a conviction on going for what you want, it doesn't matter if people around you are laughing at you or, and wanting to drag you down. Do not back down. If it's something that you feel is going to help you and you'd like to go for it. So a lot of people thought that I think I'm better. and no one is going to want to coach me, all right? And one of the things, guys, is that people are going to, they'll start laughing at you, right? But once you start showing signs of improvement, they are going to be the first ones to call you names. Suddenly, when you're improving, they suddenly want to know what you're eating. You definitely must be having steroids or things like that, because I used to be like the back end of the runner. So that's the first point. When you have a conviction about something, go for it. Do not care what other people said. And my conviction was that I felt it was time for me to start improving. Then the first thing I was told by my coach that I need to get is a watch, guys. A running watch that's going to be able to tell me the pace I'm running on and distances that I'm running. That was the first shock for me, because for 5 years, guys, I never used to run with a watch. Okay, so which meant I never used to know what pace I ran in. I never used to know like what distances I ran. I knew that I'd train and I'd do some training runs. If I get asked before a race how many what's my mileage, I would never be able to. Okay, I would never be able to say, simply because I would just get on the road and run, you know. The funny part is that on other areas of my life, I have plans. I've got measurable goals. I've got SMART goals, where SMART stands for sustainable, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timeless. But with running, I just got there and I'd run. And I knew that I'd have the stamina to finish the races. So that was the first lesson I learned, that one of the reasons why I was not improving is because I was not measuring anything that I was doing. So I needed to get a watch with a GPS so that I can be able to know paces. And the second part was that though we were not going to meet every single day with my coach, right? But there was one day in a week where we would meet for speed training. And that's the day where our coach was actually going to monitor our running. So for the first couple of weeks, all he needed to do is to actually monitor like how my fitness is, or what level of fitness I was in. Okay, so we do speed training. Mind you, guys, I never really knew if people said you need to work on your speed. I never knew what that meant. What does that mean in easy terms? That's the time I actually got to learn. So we would do speed training, and one of the things that shocked me is my coach saying, when we meet for these sessions, guys, because there was a group of us, all right, and mind you, it's different levels. Other people had been training with him for a very long time, so they are doing well at this. And I was like, yo, I wonder if I'm in the right place here, And he said, when we meet for these sessions, we meet once a week. So I expect that when you come here, it's an hour only in a week. You need to be prepared in your mind. You need to be prepared to work. At the end of the session, you need to be either on the verge of vomit or you're actually vomiting. That's the one way you're going to know that you have actually put in your extra. All right? And I was shocked. And I was like, yo, I don't know. We had joined with a friend of mine, Nuno Fondo, at the time. We both wanted to improve, and we kept on looking at each other and we'd like, I don't know what we're here for. But I'm telling you guys, so that was the beginning of my journey. I got to understand that it was the quality of my training before that was poor, very poor. I never used to do different runs. I never even knew that there were different runs. All I did was I'd run same intensity. There is no different types of runs. I got to learn there's speed, there is long, slow distance, there is tempo runs, there's different runs, which means that it trains different aspects of your body, right? So no sooner had I joined the coach, I got to understand there's there's no way I could have made the times that I wanted to, because I never used to monitor my races. I never used to do any types of runs. I would just do long distance. That's it. Okay, so that was the first lesson, that you need to improve on the quality of your training. Whether you are running or you are doing weightlifting, whatever your goal is, if the quality or the fusion of the type of training is not of quality, you are not going to move forward. Okay, another part that I liked is the fact that he would do all my programs each week. Okay, all you need to do when you have a coach is to tell them, this is my desired goal. If it's a certain race, or it's a certain time you'd want to run, or whatever it is, or I just want to improve fitness, that's what I want at a certain time. And then all they need to do is to monitor your fitness at the time and actually build you up. And he told me that we are usually our own worst enemies, because we want big goals in a very short space of time. And yet, to be a winner on anything, or to be at a higher level, it actually takes time. So you'll find other people had been doing sport, because in that group we had people that were already doing sport in high school. Here I am, I start training in my latter years, and you want to be the same as that person. You're actually you're not being fair to yourself. So you need to give yourself time to gradually build up. You need to be consistent. You also need to be monitored. Okay. And so no sooner had I joined, I realized that I am going to have to unlearn all the information I learned the 5 years previous. And I'm actually going to have to act like I am running for the very first time, because I got to discover that running, in fact, sport, is a science on its own. There are different things that have to fuse together for things to start showing in the end. And it takes time. It takes you working day in, day out on everything that you wanted to have. So that starts with nutrition. Guys, I never knew nutrition was that important. So I remember the first 2 weeks I was just being tested on my fitness. And because I had run 10Ks and all the other distances, he would let me know what times he would want me to run on a certain distance. And kid you not, I was not making those times, guys. This is someone who was running for 5 years and was finishing these races. But in terms of paces, I was just not doing the paces I was told. And I realized that I am heavy, let alone that I was frustrated that I was on a plateau. So I remember saying to my coach that I'm just frustrated. I'm not making the times. I don't understand why I'm not making the times. And I feel that I'm heavy. The first thing he asked me, tell me what you eat in a day. And at that time, guys, because weight loss was my main focus, and weight loss back in the day, now I understood it to be eating less, not necessarily about eating smart. So the less I eat, the better. And Umogel was low fat at the time, in fact, fat-free and low carb. Bad combination. So the first question he said to me was, so where do you think your energy is coming from? How on earth do you expect to expend so much energy in your training and yet you're not eating? Because if you're low carb, you're fat free, where is your energy source coming from? And I was like, wow. I'm frustrated because I'm not eating that much and yet I'm gaining. And then I got to learn and discover that there's a whole world that is called sports and nutrition, and they need to fuse together. Because running is a catabolic sport, it really, really breaks down a lot of your muscle, okay? You burn a lot of calories. It means you need to eat, and you need to eat all sorts of the macronutrients. So macro, okay, is your carbs, your fats, your proteins. You also need vitamins. You need your omega-3s. Like, I got to understand a whole world, and that after running, you need to have recovery. Recovery now, firstly by nutrition, but there's also different types of recoveries depending on what you're training for, what intensities you're looking for, and the different types of rests. There's active rest, and there is also rest. So I was like, yo, this is a whole new world. The sport, it's a science in sport, okay? And one of my biggest, I would say, milestones is once I got to understand that, then we also got to improve nutrition as well. I got to understand I need to hydrate. I mean, the amount of sweating we do, we need to put in some water. Not just some water, we also need to have what you call electrolytes. Because what happens is if you don't hydrate properly, your body is not going to recover properly. And if you don't also put in the electrolytes, which is the salts that you've lost, you start cramping, you start getting fatigued. And then once that started improving, and I also found that I'm getting to be better in terms of running form, okay? I got to a point where my paces were not improving. Okay, this is another milestone, I would say. I just couldn't understand that I've started dropping weight now, started and understanding my body. Because I always encourage guys, you need to also understand your body. As much as there are basics in weight loss or all the types of goals that you want, it's all about calorie count, but you also need to understand that bodies work differently. There's different rates of metabolisms, but you just need to understand your own body. So it's a work in progress. You always need to understand your body. So I was starting to understand my body, starting to drop weight, but my pace was not improving. And I just couldn't understand that. And what we found, all he said to me the other day was, Vuvu, you have a mental block. That's what it is. You've dropped weight. You've started improving the conditioning of your body. It's been, I think it had been 2 months training with him, and I can see you have a mental block. You need to stop getting scared of running faster. And a light bulb moment came, because I had told myself for the longest time that certain paces are for certain people. And I'm definitely not one of them. I got used to being at the back end of the races. And I just knew that that's what I was meant for, right? And he said, now it's a mental block that you are having, all right? And I got to understand actually that that might be true, because I'm scared of, running fast and actually, getting tired before the race ends. And that was the beginning, actually, of my improvement, where he said, do not be scared to go. And I started then believing in myself and actually and went forward and started improving my times, improving my understanding, improving on my mental strength as well. Right. So the basics for me, the best thing about what coaching did for me is to understand that it's not just about getting on the road. Because he said, you were fit before because you ran every day. So that's understandable. But the problem was you were not on quality running. Okay. So it meant that you are not improving. But now you need to trust in your training, because you've improved a lot on your training. And we worked a lot on the mind and having to actually start believing in yourself, because that's a big part of running and sport. You believing in yourself. You might be doing the physical work, but you also need to believe you can. The numbers can say that you can, but if you don't believe, then I promise you, you are not going to get there. So the lessons I've learned in coaching, right, is that one, there's someone else who's drawing up my program. So one, I don't have the burden of having to draw up my own program. That's one of the conveniences I enjoy, okay? It's the fact that I don't have to do my own program, right? The burden is in me to actually do the work. So that's another thing, guys. If you go get a coach, you need to trust that the coach is giving you what you need, and you need to do what needs to be done, okay? Because if you don't do that, then you're going to be frustrated because you're not going to get the results that you're wanting. So I had no burden to drop my program. All I needed is to just make time. The coach can be there, but you need to do the work, okay? And you need to commit to doing the work if the results are what you want, okay? And then, so that's the one added effect. Someone else is monitoring your progress, but you also need to own your journey, right? The coach is going to tell you what to do, okay? But it's also upon you to say, give feedback on how you felt on the run, especially those big runs that are supposed to be testing where you are in terms of fitness. Give feedback that, you know what, I wasn't feeling the way I'm supposed to be feeling, because then it also gets them to understand where you are and whether you're progressing or not. You need to own the journey as much as they're helping you with the training program, but you also need to own the journey. And also, one thing I didn't know, guys, before is that as much as it's a race, you need to have a race plan. Guys, I never knew there's things like those. Funny enough is that when you go to an exam academically, you know how you prepare for the exam. But when I went to a race, I would get there and all I knew is that I'm just gonna wing it and finish. But when I started with coaching, I got to understand that you need a race plan. And a race plan means this is how you need to tackle each and every kilometer. Because they've been monitoring your progress the whole time and they know the status of your fitness at that point in time. So to be able to do best in that race and actually enjoy it, this is where you are and this is how you need to tackle it, okay? And a race plan also includes a nutritional plan. How are you going to feed during the race? Which, by the way, you practice during your training. Do you understand? So there's someone who is helping you to get your goals, but there's that less burden of having to drop your own program, drop your own race plan. All you need to do is to execute and actually have the discipline. And another thing is having the discipline in the race to actually go according to the plan. And also being able to be responsible enough and be able to own the journey, that if you are not disciplined and you didn't get the amount of result that you wanted, you must be able to say, I am the one. Because a coach and a coachee relationship is all about that, guys. But what I love is the fact that there's someone there who's supporting you and also monitoring your progress and is able to say you're at a level that you need to level up now. Because chances are when you do it on your own, it's either you're going to overtrain or undertrain. And overtrain you do not want to do because you get injured. But when you undertrain, you also think that you're not at a position. But having a coach is them having to say, now it's time to level up, whether you're ready or not. But they can see when you are ready. So I love that part of having someone to drive you as well. Drawing up your race plan and actually finding that you are actually getting better. Signs that you are getting better is you having to think long-term now, think long-term growth, start having more energy, start feeling stronger, start feeling more positive and more confident. Because what happened is within 18 months of having to unlearn everything and relearn what I needed to relearn and actually embracing everything that I've come to understand about the science of the sport, I then I decided that I need to go then measure if I am in the right place. And I started doing improving my comrades' times by over an hour and a half. And I've also been able to go, that's a lot, guys, for comrades. I went from, your 11 hours, almost 50 minutes, to doing, 10:39, 10:22. And eventually I also got to improve my oceans. I had been working so hard for a sub-6 hour, which is very hard, and I got to do it. And that's because I gave the time, I gave the investment. I got to understand that, the nutrition, the rest, the type of or quality of training that I needed to do really, really improved me, and having a race plan and just going with it. And then people started wondering, like, they suddenly started saying I'm doping, which was not a problem. I understood it to be like that. And but I knew that I took the sacrifice. It was my own conviction, and it had paid off. And more than anything, I was getting what I wanted. But I would never have known how all of this fused together, especially the importance of nutrition and understanding what running does to the body. Because that's what I love about coaching, is that they explain everything that's going to be added to your training and that needs to be done. You get to understand, like, why are you doing it? This is how much it adds value into your life. And that's why to this day I still have a training coach. And because I just understand it, that those people who know, or are in the field of the sport, they can actually advance you quicker, right, than when you do your own trial and error. Other people opt for virtual coaches, it's fine, but I prefer having a coach with me, and more than anything, I got the mental strength to even finish a 100-miler race called the Washi 100-miler that runs from Port Alfred to East London within just under 24 hours. And 100-miler, guys, is 161 kilometers. And I think for me, that was the ultimate. That showed like everything coming together, and the coaching, the nutrition, the understanding the sport, understanding that, it depends on the distances that you want to run, that your training will depend on what distances you're wanting to run. But more importantly, it's good to seek for professional help, so that you can become a better person. And yeah, so I would really encourage someone, if you are able to, go get a coach. You might not have to have it the whole time, but if you really want targeted training, focused training, personalized training, because that's another thing, there's no one size fits all, and there's no training that's just for professionals. It just depends the level at which you want to achieve something, but coaching really, really helps on that regard. But the biggest burden is not having to do my own training, because for 5 years, I did my own training and I didn't see any result. But now I saw a huge, huge help in terms of just improving my my confidence as well, and actually getting to see that I can actually be an elite runner. It just takes me investing more time and just understanding the science behind everything. And I believe that if you understand the science behind what you're wanting, then you are able to invest properly and know that you are going towards it. And lastly, if sometimes when you are wanting something to level up, it might take you doing it on your own. Your own meaning that you might, if you had a certain training group that you were running with, if their goals are not the same, you might have to then take yourself out and end up training on your own. Because that's what ended up for me. I ended up having to train on my own most of the time. So I ended up being known around PE as this lady that trains on her own. Simply because my goals were just different and my training plan was personalized. So I needed to own it. It's not about other people. So that's the sacrifice sometimes that you're going to have to take, but it really doesn't matter if it's something that you really, really want. And at the end, you are going to get what you're wanting. So that's pretty much my share on how the world around overall nutrition and understanding the sport, how it opened up a whole new world for me and actually ended up me dropping the kilograms. Like they started dropping like that. But I also started improving my time and just understand. I think it's understanding the whole picture that really took me to greater heights. So, next time I'll be speaking more on how that opening up of the world really, really helped me advance, even in other goals, which is your muscle growth and more strength training and mentally to get me to become, more of a wellness coach. Because I had started helping out people on the side, but I actually realized if I could be a wellness coach, I would actually get to a point of impacting more people where I would be intentional about being a wellness coach. All right. Otherwise, stay safe. Thank you. Till next time.